Hi, everybody that's been able to join us so far. It looks like we're about 5 minutes out from getting started here. So grab a glass of water and then we'll get going here shortly. All right, it looks like it is time to get the show on the road here. So kick things off here. I promise we'll do our best to keep it to an hour. We really appreciate everybody giving us just a bit of your time to either come learn about the alcohol event toolkit for the first time, or hopefully learn about some new things, some different things that other communities are doing in different pieces and technologies that are really coming with the minor decliner system that's included in every one of our toolkits. So with that, a couple of ground rules kind of get things kicked off. This is a little bit different setup. We're using Zoom, the presenters, myself, Ron Todd from Minor Decliner, and Deanna Gary from our team here at Silvestri. But we're coming through the web via YouTube. There's a couple reasons that we did it this way this time. One is so that we can archive this and then share this with a lot of other people who have shown interest, but unfortunately weren't able to make it today. The other thing that we can do is we can take little clips and share them out. You can share them with your coalition, your community, anything that maybe sparks your interest. So that's why we're doing it that way. As we're going, we want to keep this as, it's a little bit different, but we want to keep that collaboration piece. So if you have any questions, we have 3 different mediums that you can use. You can either use the Google function. So right there next to, I guess, to my head on the right, there should be a chat box on the YouTube. You can just throw in any question there. Deanna's monitoring that and she'll let us know, as things come in. The other one is there's a Google form set up likely below this. If you're watching this on the website, just throw it in there. That's coming through to us in real time. Once again, Deanna will feed those to us. And then third and final option is just shoot Deanna an email. She's been in touch with everybody, setting this up, inviting people. And I think everybody should have her email address. So feel free, once again, any questions at any point, shoot them over to her. She'll stop myself. I get going. Anybody that's been on a presentation with me, she'll have me hit the brakes and make sure that any questions get answered. So with that, I'm going to jump straight into it. Today, we're going to be talking about our alcohol event toolkit solution. What is an alcohol event toolkit? What is an alcohol event toolkit? Where did it come from? How do you implement it? It doesn't work. I mean, at the end of the day, we can sit here, we can roll out, we can put solutions all over the place. But if they don't work, if they don't drive adoption, if your community can't buy into it, you can't get your business sector, the vendors, it's not worth it. We've been very strategic with the alcohol event toolkit to make sure that that's not a thing. So thank God these are back. We are so thankful that we have our fairs coming up, that we have our street dances, that we have rodeos and carnivals and every other thing that you can imagine. There is honestly nothing better than going a whole year wearing your mask, than going out there, seeing smiling faces, seeing people, seeing families, seeing our communities back together, enjoying things that we all love and really cherish. And I think if there's anything that we've gained, which hopefully we gained more than just one thing through the whole pandemic, was an appreciation for that human touch, getting out there and being together and kind of celebrating. But with all the good things that are back, we have this guy, or guys, or girls that are very similar. Where we have this little girl right here looking over, seeing Dilly Dilly Night, 2.0 there with the bear on their head. So what can we do about that? And that's why we invented the alcohol event toolkit. Little disclaimer, I guess we didn't invent the alcohol event toolkit. We just think that we made it a little bit better, and we packaged it up in a medium and way that you as a preventionist, as a coalition, as law enforcement, whoever is interested in this, can take this, and you have a turnkey solution to ultimately get it implemented in a manner that is going to make sense for your community and is going to make sense to drive the behavior change, keep our community safer. We've taken a painstaking amount of time reviewing these. Our first exposure came to these about 10 years ago, honestly, about a decade. It was like, there's got to be a better way. They were just little wheelie boxes, and you get a grain of gravel stuck in the wheel, and then you're stuck. People are getting upset. You can't organize them, so on and so forth. So that's kind of where we came in, and we said, okay, there's got to be a better way. This is a huge benefit to communities. This is an amazing solution. How do we package in something that we can buy and we can implement? Something that, we can implement, but also volunteers can implement, that our coalitions can implement, that our DUI task forces can implement. That's really kind of the angle that we took with this. So every event toolkit comes with a suite of material. So it's never going to just be a one-off thing. It's never just going to be wristbands. Like, anybody can go buy wristbands. Like, that's nothing groundbreaking or really earth-shattering that Silvestri has invented wristbands. Of course not. Of course not. But what we think we've done is we've created a toolkit, truly, in the sense that you have every tool that you need to implement an event and hopefully have it be successful in reducing adult overconsumption, underage drinking, and ultimately impaired driving. So every kit comes included with event wristbands. So as volunteers are coming, you're doing your ID checks, slip them on there, make sure that obviously people that shouldn't be drinking aren't drinking. We provide event buttons so that staff can clearly mark, we're IDing, we're event staff, build that recognition. ID checking guide. So everything with this event toolkit is built in layers. So we basically think point, counterpoint. So, oh, that ID scanner isn't working. Okay, well, let me look it up. Oh, you can't tell that okay, here's my UV flashlight to say, okay, here's your watermark. So that's kind of that component to it. We also include event barricade tape to create those areas, so that once again, we're not leaving it to just the general public to be like, okay, we should have a beer garden. What next? we have the materials coming packaged up so you can will this out and be like, okay, county fair, you can have a beer garden. Here's the materials, here's the signage to do that. The other two biggest pieces, honestly, of this whole toolkit, it's funny how this diagram broke out, is the event signage. So all the event signage is very nice material. Everybody's going to say that when they make it, but truly it's a really thick weight plastic that should hold up anywhere between 3 to 5 years without question. The graphics are bold and stunning, but they also don't rip and fall apart. That's as big as anything, is to have the signage that, time in, time out, short of a tornado or hurricane coming through. These things are going to stand up the test of time, and they're going to present and look nice so that those vendors and those people putting on the events want to display them, want to have those up. The biggest kind of our cornerstone, and one of the big reasons why I wanted to have Ron Taub join us for the call to present on the minor decliner solution, is the ID scanner. This ID scanner has been in the works, and he'll fill in a lot better than I can, but for years. And we've been working with a minor decliner as Silvestri for, I think, about 4, maybe going on 5 years now, really focusing on developing a system that isn't for the bar. It's not for, really anything other than this solution. Knowing that we're preventionists, knowing that we're DUI task forces, knowing that we're coming to events, what does that solution need to look like? It's got to be plug and play. It's got to be accurate. It's got to be quick. All those types of things have really been built in, and I'm excited to hear him explain all those functions and features to the group. So moving forward here, you've bought it. You've got the box. Everything looks great. You think this is an awesome solution for our community. We have, a lot of people coming back. People are very excited for these events. Not just this year, obviously coming out of COVID, but really this year is a huge year for this, because norms are changed. It's not status quo anymore. There's conversations that are happening that used to never happen. Can we capitalize on that as prevention? We think so. We've seen the fact that is the case currently, that there is an ability to, as these changing norms and these different people and places and conversations are happening, why can't we get proper alcohol service, proper alcohol barriers, proper signage, all those things taken into the conversation? And what better way than a single, toolbox that you can roll up to a meeting or to the event and say, here it is, here's the solution. Let's implement that. But kind of like I prefaced at the start, what good is it when you buy it and then it sits there? I'm sure we've all done that. I know we've done it. Where you buy something, you think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and the next thing you know, it's collecting dust and collecting dust and collecting dust. And then probably about 2 years from now, you're like, okay, let's throw it out. That's not going to be the alcohol event toolkit. There's too many avenues and too much demand for a solution of this nature for that to happen. The beautiful thing about the event toolkit is it's so easy to promote. A great example of this is these little 4x6 postcards. These were sent to, and I think Chad's on the call today, so I hope he's okay with us sharing this, but this is a 4x6 postcard that we pulled every liquor retailer licensee holder in Bighorn County, Wyoming, and they received this in the mail. This is a postcard that was direct sent to them, not only promoting the tips, alcohol, responsible alcohol service trainings, but also the alcohol event toolkit. Lots of other ways to promote as well. You can put them up in flyers. You can include them in alcohol retailer packets. You can work directly with municipalities. Who doesn't want, as the person signing off on the liquor license, event holder, and those permits, to have something right there to be like, hey, this is available. This can make your event better, safer, all those things. Trainings, websites, working directly with event planners. So once you get in there with the community, you have your key players, you have the people that put on, all the different events, weddings, things of that nature. Who better than to just automatically know and to assume we need to include the event toolkit, really to kind of institutionalize that. Here is a sample event toolkit checkout, and this has been provided to the various municipalities in a community in Evanston, Wyoming. The goal with this is that every single time that an event permit is checked out or awarded, I guess, one of these are included with that packet. So they have the ability to actively promote this to the people coming that we know are the biggest users of this. And this is going to be kind of the jump off point. So another awesome opportunity, once again, to make sure that this doesn't just collect dust, but actually gets out there to your community and ultimately changes behavior. Trying to be quick here, so this is difficult for me. The thing about the event toolkit is it's a box. It's a box filled with a lot of stuff, really nice stuff, but stuff. It's not going to change. You know, if you just set the event wristbands on the table, it's not going to fix anything. If you just have that, as nice as the ID scanner is, you just set it down, it's not going to fix anything. The alcohol event toolkit is a solution. So while all these components come in, it really is made as a solution to the problem that we have in our communities with underage drinking, adult overconsumption, and impaired driving following these events. Why is it a solution? Why is it something, you know, as easy as it is to promote and get out there? It fixes a problem. I think anybody that's rational, you know, in any of our communities can sit there and be like, yeah, I can probably think of at least one, if not, you know, a half dozen to a dozen different events where you're like, yeah, I think the drinking's a little lax there, or we could really use something like this to reel things in. It's got a little out of hand. So that's the biggest thing, is it fixes the problem. This isn't a huge, you don't have to do any mental gymnastics to understand that you have something very tangible that you can provide, and it fixes a real problem, not a made up, made believe problem, but a very real problem. The other thing with these event toolkits is they create partnerships. Believe it or not, alcohol retailers and event planners love these types of things because showing that they're putting these types of things into place can actually reduce their overall insurance when they're going for their event planning insurance licenses. So that's huge. It also takes the burden off of them. A lot of different communities and municipalities and things like that, they require some of these things already, or consider, you know, it's always kind of a topic. What better way than to have something provided at a very nominal cost that I don't have to go sort and get on Amazon and eBay and everything else to go and create my own stuff. Here it is. It's right here. So they typically love this. Like, this isn't like a big fight to get them. Now, will they implement every single one of these items? We hope so, but they have them at their disposal then, and we can continue to work and grow on that. 3, change behavior. I grew up in a town with 1 stoplight, small town USA through and through. Changing community behavior is difficult. I think we all know that if you've done this for any amount of time, but especially when we're dealing with kind of tradition, you know, if every single year you go to the fair, you go to the street dance, and this is what it was. This was what it was when I was a kid, you know, whatever. Changing that behavior. This alcohol event toolkit does this incrementally. So as you start to chip away at some of those long-standing, probably improper kind of traditions that, you know, that are held, especially around alcohol, it offers you a very seamless way to change behavior to accomplish those 3 things, you know, underage drinking, adult overconsumption, and reduced impaired driving. This is a tool that has tangible solutions to fix those and drive that behavior change. And then the 4th and kind of the coolest thing is, what better solution to go and work with, you know, your elected officials, event organizers, planners, different things like that, to be like, we have a problem, you know, we're always coming with problems. It's what can you do for me? No, we know that there's a problem, but the awesome thing is we know that there's a problem. We already provided the solution. We can provide it for relatively inexpensive cost here, and we'll make it available to everybody. All we're asking is require it. And when they say, well, why should we? And it's, well, you've got this, and this data. But once again, we already have something to fix, and we're not asking you to invent the wheel or do anything like that. We already have the solution. Why don't we just ask people to use it? Why don't we mandate people to use it? So really, it can drive from day 1 to that all the way to the end, where you're getting kind of an ordinance change in, and you're changing the way that we structure and think about events moving forward. The alcohol event toolkit has all those really baked into the dynamics and in the way it was created, and has been fostered to add to over the years and time. So being mindful of time there, that was incredibly quick. So I'm sure that there's some questions. Always feel free to reach out to me directly, and also the Q&A session will be a great opportunity to address those. But with that, I'm going to pass it over to Ron Taub, the founder of Minor Decliner and the exclusive partner for our ID scanning technology included in the alcohol event toolkits. With that, Ron, I'll kick it over to you.
Great. I appreciate that, Travis, and I am honored and thrilled to be here today for this community to share with you Minor Decliner, our story, and some information that you may already know, but maybe you'll find out some new things today. So it's great to be here, and I'm going to put up my presentation now for you. Okay, great. Actually, let me just share something a little bit different here. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. Okay. So we're here to talk about the science and technology of identification scanning. I'm Ron Taub. I'm the founder of Minor Decliner, and my story started in age verification probably around 6 years ago when my daughter became an underage investigator for our local police department. And in that, her job was to go in to buy cigarettes at that time. She was only 16 years old. And she found out that often, maybe 20 to 30% of the time, people would sell to her and they couldn't figure out how old she was. So we thought that this was a problem that could be solved. We invented a solution, took it to market, and we've been able to help a lot of retailers and purveyors of different age restricted items eliminate the risk of selling to an underage person. So Minor Decliner is a ID scanning solution for automated age verification and compliance reporting. How we do that, we decode the 2D barcode that's on the back of every US driver's license, and we give a very fast and direct sale or no sale answer. And we do this because people make mistakes in the calculation of age. We show anywhere from where we've got great data on the tobacco side, 10 to 20%. And all of you being in the industry, I'm sure you've seen firsthand the failure rate of selling when folks are tested for selling to minors alcohol products. And of course, we know that there's very large fines and compliance risks that occur when somebody does sell to a minor. So Minor Decliner is a trusted and evolved age verification system that is really simple to use. We've designed this for out of the box, easy to understand. Our vision is to eliminate sales and access of age restricted items to minors and protect businesses and organizations. And we do that by providing the most robust, advanced, and easy to use systems on the market. So we have over 50 patent pending features and trade secrets. We've got a very large intellectual property portfolio, and we're a market leader. And we're proud to be have Silvestri as one of our industry partners. And we've definitely learned from them over time, and we're able to listen to our customers and develop new features and continue to advance the technology so we can be responsive to the market and our customers. So there are many market segments for age restricted items. We're all familiar here with alcohol. Minor Decliner also covers the space of cannabis, tobacco, casino entry, lottery, vape. What's coming new is CBD. There's energy drinks, believe it or not, and DXM, cough medicine. Those are all age-restricted products that have legal requirements to sell to underage. And Minor Decliner is configurable to be able to provide solutions for all those areas. So we're going to go out a little bit of the Minor Decliner product and just talk about youth and the impacts of alcohol consumption. So this is some data we discovered from, it's 2017 data, and it is attributed here, so you can get it right, also see where it came from in their website. but there were about 11,000 alcohol-related fatalities, and of that, 2,500 were teen-related. And of that, 1,800 had an alcohol component to the teen auto fatality. So one statistic that really jumped out at me here, and it was, astounding and not in a good way, was that 73%, 1,800 divided by 25, of the teen-related auto fatalities were alcohol-related. And that is a huge statistic. We all know that youth alcohol consumption is bad. There's many different reasons, but dying or killing someone is certainly one of the things that should be at the top of that list. If we go a little deeper into some of the statistics from the same type of data source, they saw on a larger data set that 17%, and this is 17% of all drunk driving of alcohol-related crashes, was alcohol-related, even though 10% of drivers are under 21. So that means there's a disproportionate amount of drunk driving going on among you've got 10% licensed drivers representing 17% of all alcohol-related crashes. So there's a disproportionality there. And again, leading to us that not only is underage drinking bad, but it's disproportionately affected. And we'll uncover some reasons for that in a moment. And please, if you have any questions or you want me to pause, please throw them in the chat and somebody will let me know and we can pause on a point, because we are getting into sort of a dense data set here. So moving on, there's additional data there also. So one of the data sets tells us that there was over 2 million times in a month where high school teens were drinking and driving. 2 million times in a month. So they're getting that alcohol from somewhere, and they're getting it either through straw buyers or through organizations that aren't effectively having an age verification program in place. So we know this is significant. We are all here and we are committed to preventing these deaths, sparing the families and the families affected the pain of losing their children, and other families that have been affected as well. So it is a very serious problem. So that was 2017 data, but this is not a new problem. And those of you who have been in the industry know this. So this is some 2009 data on underage drinking and accidents. And they estimated then that this was underage drinking costs our society $68 billion a year, or $1 for every drink consumed. And that was inclusive of medical bills, income loss, and costs from pain and suffering. And in 2009, they had a statistic that 19% of drivers aged 16 to 20 who were involved in a fatal crash had a blood alcohol concentration of over the legal limit. So we also see if the litany of things that can go poorly, including death, isn't enough, we see other problems: increased sexual behavior, pregnancy, sexual transmitted diseases, and the problems roll on. With more data here, back to 1997. So again, we've got 2017, we've got 2009, and now we've got 1997. Going all the way back, the problem continues. So this adds a little bit of interesting dimensionality to our information. So what they're explaining here is that there's a risk factor because of the undeveloped brain or the less developed brain of somebody who's underage. So they basically have calculated here, and this is a little bit challenging for me to unpack, but I'm going to try here, is that for all drivers, for each increase of blood alcohol content of 0.02, it doubles the risk of being involved in a crash. However, if you are 16 to 20, it's at a higher rate. So it doubles for 0.02, but it's 3 times higher if you're under 25. That's what their data scientifically showed. So it's an increased risk factor, but it's even more of an increased risk factor if you are under 25. And that is really significant. So of course there's DUI. In 1995, there were 15,000 DUI arrests for under 18. 66% of those were 17-year-olds, and even 3% were under 15. And they were disproportionately in that year male. So there's more statistics that we have. So, it's not only the legal impacts, but it's also what's happening at the middle school and high school level, where 2/3 of high school aged kids knew someone who have tried alcohol. The average age where people tried it was 14 years old. And it showed that 38% of 8th graders have tried alcohol at least once, and about 10% of 12-year-olds. And by 15, that number jumped to 15%. So we're not talking about small underage use. We're talking about really young kids trying alcohol. So we know it can kill. Here's another impact, which I would never think of, but their statistic from 2012 showed that underage drinking led to 31 murders. So it's hard to me to even utter these statistics, but it's, the data is here, and underage drinking leads to significant problems of behavior, of legal costs, of deaths, all types of things. So we have also drug addiction. So again, 67% of teens that drink before 15 will go on to use illegal drugs. Underage drinkers were 22 times more likely to use marijuana and 50 times more likely to use cocaine. So now we've got murder, drugs. It's very hyperbole to say all this, but here is the data. We're almost done, I promise you. And then we've got mental health problems that occur, again, from alcohol use. And it's, alcohol we know is a depressant. And what we see is that you've just got tremendous impacts for that undeveloped, not fully developed brain, taking in alcohol and having significant mental illness impacts, including depression, suicide, and psychosis. So it also can lead to binge drinking, and it's a depressing area, but it's very serious. And that's why we're here. And that's why one of the reasons we invented Minor Decliner, to help serious people and all folks really prevent underage alcohol use with a fast and simple tool. So now we're going to move into the next part of the presentation, which is really talking about and demonstrating some of the features of Minor Decliner. So we've got a lot of features that are standard, and these are available for you to try in your systems. And you may be familiar with some of them you may not be familiar with as much. So we're going to cover some of the core features, which is our age verification compliance suite, our customer rating, and our frequency use management. So what we're going to do is I'm going to explain this in on a slide deck here, and then I'm going to show you how it works, and then we'll pause for a moment for questions. So before I move into this piece of it, I wanted to see, just check in with Travis or Deanna if you guys had any comments before we go into the video demonstration piece, or we have any comments from the audience we should answer right now.
I don't see any questions come in on this section just yet. There's a few for kind of the Q&A at the end. So
Okay, very good. Travis, did you have any comments you wanted to make on some of that data or anything that you've seen from some of your experience?
the only thing I would add to contextualize that data, because the numbers are stark, you know, and it's very intimidating, is we know that events, which the alcohol event toolkit it was invented for, is a frequent kind of jump off point for a lot of youth to begin alcohol initiation. So it's at these events where a lot of kids, you know, 12, 13, 14-year-olds may experience or may, you know, build up the courage to try alcohol for the first time. So that's really kind of a big opportunity where we can stop some of that in my estimation. But
very good, thank you.
yep.
Okay, so I'm going to now share with you some videos, and what I'm going to do here is so I don't have to flip back and forth. We're just going to show these. I'll explain the concept of what's going on. We'll show it in the video, and then we'll see if there's any questions, and then we'll move on to the next video. So the first thing I want to demonstrate today is how our compliance suite works. So in concept, we take some of the information that's decoded from the 2D barcode, and we keep a compliance log. And that generally consists of the date, time of the scan, the result, the person's birthday, and the driver's license expiration date. So it's really not enough. It's not PII to the point to really identify who was scanned, which is what we want to do for privacy concerns, but it is enough to see if the scanning system is being used, and it's there for a compliance audit. So you could pull the compliance log, you can view it on the screen, you can export it, and that log can stay for a period of time, or it can automatically roll off. So with that, I'm going to show how this first feature works, which is the compliance logging, the compliance suite.
Miner Decliner has an easy way for store owners to see compliance and view compliance of the system. And this is with our very configurable logging system. So the scan logs can be exported. The scan logs can be easily configured to what information is saved, and the scan logs can be easily viewed on screen as shown here. So we're just going to look to see what's in the scan log. And here we're just recording the date, time of the scan, the items that were scanned for, the scanned result, and if an intelligent fake ID check was done and what questions were asked. So the scan log has a complete configuration and is very easy to use and access data from.
Okay, so the way that feature works, so again, you scan the ID, we save some information. Ooh, sorry about that. We're going to move on to the next video. So, and you can also do some more advanced things, which is actually, if one person is scanning, you can actually have their initials logged in the system, and they can be associated with the scan data. So it's very powerful compliance checking features that become standard in the Miner Decliner. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next feature, which is the band and VIP use. And what I want to show you here is this is what we call enhanced logging. We have different screens available. There's a standard screen, and then we've got sort of a simplified enter screen that's available in Miner Decliner. And this screen will show you underage, and it will show you over 21. But it will also, in the case of an organization wanting to identify people that cause trouble, we have a band feature. So it is a way that you can use a customer appraisal module, and they could be identified as being, they could be VIPs. In the casino industry, they have a term, VEP, Voluntary Exclusion Program, which is people that have identified that they need to stay away from a casino, but sometimes show up. But the band VIP features are all available in this module.
Screen. If somebody's okay, scan and you get this over big check mark over 21. And if they're underage, you get that underage. We also have the ability to identify people by band and VEP. And you can do that very easily with our manager function, which you can do at the door or in a centralized way. And if you want to ban somebody, you would just ban them in that way. And then the next time they come in, that would come up in your system. So we'll show that again, how that would look. So now that person is banned. And then you also have similar ability with the voluntary exclusion program.
Okay, so that's
Ron, one thing to jump in kind of on this point that we've heard some interesting conversation. We've not gotten it all the way to production level, but using that voluntary exclusion program, some probation officers have discussed potentially loading, people that are not supposed to be drinking, not supposed to be in beer gardens, different things like that. So we could, once again, be an ally in that fight. So if somebody's facing peer pressure, feels like I want to go in there, they get scanned and it pops up and essentially says, are you sure you want to do this? Really, really powerful technology when you pair it up with that type of data source.
Thank you, Travis. Absolutely. And of course, we're very close to Silvestri, and we listen to our customers. And if we needed to do something to, make that program work, if somebody wanted to try it, we'd be all in for helping that. It fits with our mission, and it fits with supporting our valuable customers. Absolutely. Okay, so the next video up is a feature that's the industry calls anti-passback. We call that frequency use management. And so the concept here is that, and we see this sometimes in bars and nightclub environments where somebody will have an ID, they'll use it, and then they'll sneak it back out and give it to someone else to use to get in. So Miner Decliner has a solution for that, and that's in our frequency use management module. Again, a standard feature in Miner Decliner.
Features for customer appraisal. Here you can assess customers that are great as VIPs, and similarly, you can assess customers that might be troubled as banned. Miner Decliner also has a complete feature to prevent reuse of an ID in a short time period. So, for example, we do a scan now, and we've got a pass, and then with this feature on, we prevent this ID from being passed to someone else in a short time period later. And if we scan it again, we see now the customer frequency alarm has come on, and we can accept it here or we can reject it. And it will let the associate know that this ID has been used and can't be used for a time period. Here you see it's 10 hours from now, and that's easily configurable to your time frame, once per day, once per shift, or so many hours later. Miner Decliner.
Okay, so that is the customer frequency module. So we have some newer features that have rolled out very recently with Miner Decliner. And this is our fraudulent ID detection technology. So detecting a fake IDs forensically is very difficult. So, and it takes time. So as in the toolkit, we do see that there's the document checker information that shows what an authentic ID looks like. If somebody really wants to get into it a little bit more, they can use the UV flashlight. But one thing that Miner Decliner has found through our research is that those questions that your best bouncers will ask to help determine if based on a behavioral indication, if the ID is fake, it turns it out to be a very fast and accurate approach. And so what Minor Decliner does has built in the ability to ask those questions and to record those results and to put them in the compliance log. And that's what we call our intelligent fake detection module. And let me show you how that works.
Decliner's patent pending intelligent fake ID detection. Scan a driver's license. And then our carefully curated and patent pending list of questions comes up that lets the store associate assess whether the person has a real or fake ID. If they pass the ID, then the transaction is a pass and it's recorded in the scan log. In a situation where the store associate has doubts and the person does seem nervous, based on the questions, they can fail the person. That's recorded in the scan log, and you've got a record that your store checked for compliance for fake IDs.
Okay, very good. So I'm going to go back now to the presentation. Oh my. Hold on for a second.
Hey, Ron, you're on mute.
Sorry, it wouldn't be a complete demo without some type of technical glitch, so I apologize. Okay, we're back. So we just went through compliance monitoring. We went through the frequency use, the customer rating. One thing I didn't show you, but it is available with Minor Decliner, is if you have a high throughput situation, you could actually have two scanners working with one Minor Decliner, and then they're uniquely identified. So you could sort of do a fast throughput environment by adding a scanner set. So that is available also. So we talked a little bit about the intelligent fake detection. We also have some on-the-go age verification. So Minor Decliner is very portable, but if you wanted to carry it in a cell phone sized device, that is available starting this year as well. So I want to spend a little bit of time on a important new feature that that I think everybody's going to be very interested in, which is the coming trends for digital driver's licenses. So we've all heard about this, and Minor Decliner is partnered with the National Association of Convenience Stores with their brand new True Age age verification protocol. So you're going to be hearing more about this in the coming years. They are starting to form up the industry standards. And the important thing for you to know is that Minor Decliner is ready for this now. We were the first one in the US to implement the ready technology for this. And so in essence, instead of a driver's license, someone may be issued a digital identity token that would be available on their phone. And so Minor Decliner has the ability to decode that, to check for authenticity of that, and to use that in a age-restricted sale environment. They are also looking for the future that you may be looking at purchase limits of age-restricted items that would affect the entire that person's history of being able to purchase either so many vape pods or any other item that has a quantity limit on it, either at the per transaction level or over a period of time. So we're very proud and excited to offer this technology. It shows our commitment to being ready for the future, and we are ready to meet the challenge of that. And so you are future-proofed when you get a Minor Decliner, and you will be ready for those digital driver's licenses when they come. So with that, it's been great to be with you today. And I'm going to turn it back over to Travis. And of course, we'll be here for answering any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Ron. Always so intriguing to see everything that's coming. One thing I thought of, because we've had a lot of conversations over the last few years with people on that anti-passback feature. I heard somebody, I think it was, they said that's the Montana Big Brother ID. And I was like, what in the world is that? And they said, that's when your big brother is 21 and you're not, so you pass it on back. So we know that happens a lot. And I think that's one of the big features. Really, it's one of those things that maybe you don't think about when you set out with something. You're really focused on capturing fake IDs, the ones that are coming maybe in, that are really good coming from, say, like China. But really, a lot of times it's not overly sophisticated. It really is just about brother, sister, cousin, aunt, whoever that's willing to pass that onto the minor, and make it available to them. So yeah, as always, really appreciate that. One thing I can't stress enough about working with Ron and the minor decliner system, which kind of comes packaged up with Alcohol Event Toolkit in general, is continual innovation. There has not been, and I've had some pretty wild ideas I've approached Ron with, and he's never told me no straight away. So he's always, him and his team are always willing to look and try to find solutions that are going to fit for prevention, really for what we're using these systems for. It's not every, Circle K or 7-Eleven that we're really focused on as prevention, more so these one big events, different things like that, the multiple scanners, things like that are really exciting to me. So that dovetails in right before we get to the Q&A. A big thing that comes with every single alcohol event toolkit is ongoing support. So it's really easy. There's a lot of companies out there that'll just sell you something, and you swipe your card, and that's it. You get what you get. The thing is when you purchase an alcohol event toolkit from Sylvester Customization, is you buy into our ecosystem. So we are constantly looking, things like that postcard that I showed earlier, the checkout sheet for the municipalities, different things like that, you automatically get. So if you ever run into something and you're like, how do I get this out there? It's really kind of a user group. We're all working for the same goal and for the same purpose. So we're always happy to jump in and provide those. Something that we've helped people do is draft sample ordinance language, or take it from other communities that have been successful. They've got it all the way through, been passed by the county, commissioners, county attorney, or the city, so on and so forth. We really look at this as an ecosystem to work together and to share resources and work smarter, not harder. Like our jobs are hard enough. Like this is not easy, definitely not easy stuff. So really trying to provide as much resources, not only in the initial investment in the toolkit, but in also kind of ongoing support, and access to us, access to future solutions, access to promotion. Those all just kind of come standard with it. So with that, I'll kick it over to Deanna. If Deanna wants to ask us a few of the questions that have come in throughout the chat. It looks like there's been a few, so keep those coming. Q&As are always the best part of these types of things. So,
okay, you guys ready?
Ready or not?
Okay, let's see, Travis, I'm going to go ahead and shoot this one to you. I do have questions that have come up for both of you. This one here says, Travis mentioned repeatedly, we can provide this toolkit for free to our communities. How is that possible?
Good question. Good question. So these alcohol event toolkits are not, they're a capital investment. So the pricing structure for anybody that was registered for this will hold the pricing at $18.50, which is where it's been for the past 18 months. But we are, with some of those additional resources and whatnot, it is headed towards $2,500. It's a big investment. That's a big project and piece of a lot of community prevention budgets to bite off. So how do you make it free? We're working from the assumption that we're working, with different grants and organizations and things of that nature that have the funds available to make that initial purchase. Once you make the initial purchase, this thing is designed to last for a long time without needing to keep, it's not constantly, like to get a can of soda where you got to keep putting a quarter in. Those signs, the ID scanner comes with a 2-year warranty. The toolbox itself is really big in the sense of it's sturdy, it's construction grade. Things like that, you really only have consumables of the wristbands and maybe the caution tape piece. So it's not going to be crazy huge. Something that's really cool is once you get this implemented, and especially if you can get it implemented as a ordinance where they're requiring ID scanning, wristbands, signage, so on and so forth, you can put a real nominal fee, not something that's going to put the event planners in a tough spot. I'm talking $50, $100, which in the grand scheme for people planning to sell alcohol at these events, drop in the bucket. It's a great way to cover, sustainably speaking, where this thing is going to be available for not the next, the next year, but the next 10 years, because we're continually kind of filling the coffers to replace and make sure that everything is stocked up and going to work good for everybody.
All right. Thank you, Travis.
Yep.
I'm just kind of looking here to see if there's other questions coming in. Ron, I do have one here for you.
Okay.
Here's the question. How long does it take to scan an ID? I'm worried a little about the line to get in backing up.
Yeah, that's a great question. It takes less than 2 seconds to scan an ID. And in that time, we decode it, we check for underage, we check for expired, we check for invalid, and we record it in the scan log and provide a really bright and out there answer for whoever is doing the check. So it's very, very fast. And if somebody needed to get extreme throughput, again, we've got portable solutions that can go handheld and mobile. We've got the multi-scanner solution. So I don't think we've ever seen a situation where lines are going to back up because of the scanning time.
Okay, excellent.
Great.
Okay, Travis, I'm going to shoot another question to you.
Okay.
How big and heavy is the toolkit? Wondering if it is fairly easy to roll, and also how would we replenish contents as needed?
Good questions all the way around. So the event toolkit is a standard kind of rolling toolbox, if you will, straight up from Home Depot. We went with that route for a couple of reasons. One, there's no point in paying for some special device manufacturing, so on, when there's great solutions available. The good news with those is while they're about 2 feet wide, 3 feet tall, thereabout. So they are sizable in nature and they can fit everything that you need, but they're not too big. They're not going to just eat up your whole office or anything like that unless you have 10 of them, then they take up a considerable amount of your space. Weight is not going to be an issue whatsoever. These things are typically 15, 20 pounds. But one of the really nice things that we really were kind of hell-bent when we started down this journey a few years back to make these toolkits was to get away from little wheels, the little wheels that, once again, if you hit a piece of gravel, then you're lugging it or you're not going to pick it up. These, typically the wheels on these toolboxes are pretty good size, kind of all terrain, if you will. So you're not going to have to be picking it up and hauling it as much as you will be wheeling it once you get it to where you need to go. So built to last, I think that's also a big thing. Once again, you're making an investment, you're going out there, you're representing this to your coalition, to your community, to your vendors and your partners, as well as elected officials. And you can't promise them, we have this awesome toolkit, and then every time it goes out, it gets dinged up and broke, and it's looking like hell after 2 events. This is built to last. So in those instances, we'd always be there to support you and make sure that it got repaired or replaced. But I think that's a big piece there, is that these things are built to hold up on the job site. So hopefully they can hold up at the street dance, if you will.
All right, great. Thanks for sharing that, Travis. All right, I'm just looking here to see if there's any other questions coming in. We might get some after the fact as well. So I'll just turn it back over to you, Travis.
Cool. Well, yeah, and it looks like we hit it right on the dot here with time. So once again, appreciate everybody coming. I'm sure there's a ton of questions. I always have so many questions after seeing the ID scanning technology myself. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can either reach out to the Event Toolkit website, through our Sylvester customization website. You have Deanna's email, or you can reach out to my email, travis@sylvestercustomization.com. We're more than happy to look at these one-on-one, pull out an actual toolkit so we can spend some time. It's kind of cumbersome for a live demo like this, but we can actually go through the different functions and features. Chances are you probably don't live that far from somebody that has one of these. We've already got about 80 of these out in the universe, so we can potentially schedule field trips and things like that to make sure that you can see it, kind of get a good feeling of what you're purchasing. So yeah, in addition to that, we're going to be sending out some follow-up videos. So those videos that Ron shared with a couple of additionals, probably a little infographic sheet that breaks down some of those stats. I know the stats that Ron shared are pretty sobering and pretty stark as well. So I think that's important for our communities to understand that this isn't, a guy or girl, having their first Bud Light. Like, there are real repercussions to that. And to build solutions that aren't going to inhibit, we're not asking vendors, we're not asking for-profit entities to go out of business for us. We're asking them to be our partners and to put on a great event, that they can be wildly successful with, and they can ultimately make sure that we aren't serving kids, we're not over serving adults, and we're really working towards reducing the number of lives lost on our roadways, sadly, each and every day. So with that, we'll wrap it up, but as always, reach out with any questions, and look forward to hearing from you soon. All right.